I'm Victor Hernandez, and I'm your USDA Beginning Farmer Rancher Coordinator and Natural Resource Conservation Service Outreach Coordinator in California. Today, we're joined, it's Asian American History Month, and today we're joined by soil conservationist Kyle Venell out of our San Benito County Hollister office, and he's joined by Sheena Vaidyanathan. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about what you're doing out in the field. So Kyle, how do you meet Sheena, and what conservation practices are you currently doing out in the field?
Yeah, so I actually started working with Sheena about 1.5 years ago. And, over that 1.5 years, we've had time to get to know each other, and I've taken a look at her field. And it started out with one really big 70 horsepower pump on it that could power a lot of sprinkler systems. And she was running into some problems trying to irrigate her farmers. So we approached that with some pipeline structures, some storage structures for water. We put some tanks out there, a couple of booster pumps to power it all. That way she can run multiple irrigation systems on the property. And over that 1.5 years, we were able to fund the project, and she was able to implement it all. And the last thing that we're waiting on is getting some soil moisture sensors into the ground so that we can work on irrigation water management as well.
Outstanding. And Sheena, how do you meet Kyle, or how do you learn about the Natural Resource Conservation Service and get started with your project?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm trying to think where. There's so many people, I think, who brought up your name. I believe the vendors who were helping me with irrigation, I think they were one of the first people when I reached out and asked them a question about the pump. They said, well, there are people who can help you out. And this was my first kind of, as a beginner, beginner in this whole field, I didn't know that there were resources like that. And there were a couple of other the other farmers, a couple of nonprofits that I got to know over the last, the initial few months, and they all seem to kind of say, you should talk to NRCS, you should talk to NRCS. So I think, I can't remember the exact one person, but I heard it multiple sources, and so I'm glad I reached out from there.
And so Sheena, how do you, or how do you decide to get into agriculture? Because I understand by day you're a school teacher, is that right?
That is right. I am a school teacher, and I have lived here in California for 30 years. And I think from, right from the beginning, every time we would drive outside or go outside the immediate Bay Area, we're always amazed by the farmland and what California has. And we've got the sunshine, we've got the soil, we've got, all this happening around us. It's just amazing. And I guess it's been always my kind of a dream that one day I'm going to be part of this thing, and about idea of, the fact that we live here, we should be eating food that we grow right here. I mean, where else we should get food from? So I think that whole idea of eating local, growing local has always appealed to me. And so it's been something that I've been thinking of, wanting to do, and various circumstances finally led me to the point where we were able to move ahead with that kind of dream that I had.
Wow, that's amazing. And where is your farm located?
It's in San Juan Bautista, in San Benito County.
And what are you currently growing on the farm?
Okay, so I personally have. Right now, my focus is to build an orchard. So I have my plan is to do some citrus, apples, mostly apples, and probably some figs, persimmon, and pomegranates. That's our current plan. Right now, I've got some citrus and apples that just went into the ground only about a month or so ago. I was building up soil first, so we did cover cropping, which is something that I know you guys are happy to know. And so that is where I'm doing it, but the rest of the land is leased to other small farmers, and I think that, and they are growing a variety of row crops, from tomatoes to different lettuce, celery, all the crops that do grow there: kale, lettuce, celery, bok choy, tomatoes, peppers, all of the above. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so at what point, and you mentioned you've been cover cropping and building your soil. At what point do you decide to engage with NRCS and start working with Kyle?
I would say right in the beginning. I believe when we had got it, we were just about to, if I remember, and Kyle might remember exactly, if it was, we had just about put in that first cover crop, or we were about to put the first cover crop in. I remember November, and we were lucky. It was the weekend where the rains hit, and so we were able to get that first cover crop off the ground because the irrigation wasn't working. So we needed the rain at that time. And then, so I think that was the first time we started. So it's been, we've done 3 rounds of cover crop. So we did one in fall, then we did it again in the summer. We used some overhead pipes and a very ugly system, but we kind of got it going. And then we did a third one this fall. So 3 different rounds of cover crop.
Wow. And so Kyle, as when Sheena comes to you and she's already been working on cover cropping and building up her soil health, what do you see and how do you start making your recommendations?
Well, the first thing I see is someone who's an excellent steward of the land, doing their part to help out the soil structure from the very beginning, even before I got involved. But from there, it was really just take a look around and see what our concerns were. You know, in most fallow field situations, the first approach is to cover crop it. And when you go out there and you see cover crop, the next question is, what's your water situation looking like? And she had expressed concern, and so that's really where we got off the ground with the water situation.
That's right. I think that was a big, I mean, that is something that, I mean, really, I'm very, very thankful for NRCS because it's not just, you're supporting us with funding, but the fact that you have the expertise and real expertise, right? So the fact that someone like Kyle understands the big pictures and quickly was able to jump into it and bring engineers in to design the system, because as you said, that property was being managed, that ranch was basically 20 acres of one crop, right? And so we wanted to go from that to this kind of a more diverse farm where we have an orchard, we have greenhouses for transplants, we have row crops that are run by multiple farmers who might want to irrigate at different times. We didn't want, all 20 acres of, kale or onions or whatever it is. So the idea to be able to irrigate like that and with a well that was not, designed for this, and how do we do it, was a very was something that I know I wanted it, but how do you get there? So I think that is where NRCS's engineering and creativity and skills and understanding, sitting down, thinking out the solution, and working very closely with with the vendors too, and the various ideas on what would be working. I think that was our I would say huge thank you for NRCS for that.
Absolutely. And so Kyle, tell us a little bit about the conservation practices. I know you and I spoke a couple days ago, and you also shared with me quite a few pictures of the farm, and I see a very complex, intricate system. I'm just wondering, so tell us a little bit about what practices were installed and how is that going now?
Yeah, so we used the existing well to supply the sprinkler systems, but Sheena also wants to be able to use micro irrigation systems and microjet systems, which run on a different pressure and flow rate than sprinkler systems run on. And so what we ended up doing was attaching some additional tanks for water storage. And from those additional tanks, we attached a couple of booster pumps through pumping plant practices. And then we were able to add some irrigation pipeline into that. And from there, using all of those different pieces, we were able to line it all up so that the system can not only run sprinklers, it can also run micro irrigation, drip tape, or microjet sprinklers, which is incredible considering the complexity of the system. We really leaned heavily on our team engineer for that.
And Sheena, what was that experience like? I know that, as you're working with NRCS and you're contracting and trying to get this very complex irrigation system on your property, what was that process like?
It was actually a lot easier than I thought. I was really nervous about even the application process, and I think the NRCS, everybody at the office was very helpful with multiple phone calls and telling us exactly how to fill out things and what to do. Meeting with both Kyle as well as I think Mark Burnett came out a couple of times, and just kind of, walking, understanding, and sending us emails back and forth on this is what we think it should be, what do you want exactly, and so that whole interaction was actually very, very well managed. I was very impressed with the with the responsiveness that I wasn't expecting this much of. This is such a great experience that it all went through very, very smoothly, I would say. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And and oftentimes this type of undertaking, it takes several partners. I'm wondering, were there any other local partners involved in helping get this project together, or was it solely NRCS? And
this was pretty much an NRCS project that we took on, but we did utilize a lot of the vendors around the area, and we relied heavily on community support. Sheena was learning how to do stuff and getting ideas from her neighbors, but we also relied on the irrigation companies and the pump companies in the area because they have a level of expertise as well. And so that partnership is also growing. Making sure that we have good communication with those vendors because in the end they're the ones that are implementing all this stuff. So that's who we relied on heavily for some other technical information as well.
Yes, that's true. I think that also has been a very wonderful experience for me because the vendors, the irrigation vendors, both both the pump side and the pipes and everything, and I'm all of that was they came highly recommended from other farmers in the neighborhood, and I think it's really nice to see there's a level of there's a level of understanding, of trust, of given, the way they were able to interact with NRCS. I could see that there's a very, very positive relationship all along. And that really inspires me and gives me the confidence to move forward, right? I mean, it wasn't like, okay, what is going on here? I could see that they all were talking the same language and really trusted and had respect for each other, which was fantastic. Yeah.
That's fantastic to hear. And so Sheena, I mean, I want to know how much has your farm operation changed now that you have your new irrigation system up and going? Tell me a little bit, what did it look like before that, and what are the significant differences that you're seing now?
It's completely changed. What I'm doing right now would have been impossible. So, as I said, we could have done 20 acres of I guess a row crop if I wanted in some form or the other by getting a whole bunch of pipes. But now I am able to, as you said, run drip tape, run micro irrigation on an orchard. I'm able to, compared to having, a whole bunch of overhead pipes that are leaking, stringing across. I mean, when I did my summer cover crop, I did have to irrigate, and the farmers who were there wanted to still use the land. And so we were doing kind of things that you would have been very upset to see, but we we had to turn on the pump and there was this water pressure that has to go somewhere. So we're like, okay, let's send it to the cover crop while the lettuce is getting watered, let's send the excess water this way. And there was all this completely, I would say, not the nicest and easiest way to do it, but we wanted to use the land and there was nothing else we had there, right? So we had to make it work. And now we can do something that was impossible. We have greenhouses that can actually turn on, like these are little things that need a little bit of water. We can turn it on and we can say, okay, we need only the apple trees to be watered this week, and we can just try water the apple trees. And then we can do all these wonderful combinations that would have been impossible to have done before. I mean, they would have been just one. It's not like, oh, I need to water my apple trees, let me send all the water somewhere else, right? I don't have to do that. So I'm saving water for sure. I'm saving electricity. I'm saving, time. I'm actually actually there's something that has been impossible to do. That's the only way I can say. So my farming is possible only because of this. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and additionally, Sheena, I also think that that system helps out with the autonomy of your lessees, right? Because you're leasing out 2 to 3 acre blocks on a 20-acre parcel, and so to give those ranchers the autonomy to irrigate on their own time with their own systems is fantastic as well. So I noticed that improvement immediately with the design.
Certainly, because it enables each person to, do what they need to do without having to coordinate and be stressed out about things going wrong. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.